This podcast is brought to you by Podspot Events.
Hello and welcome to the Bondi Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Beattie. The guest in this episode is Sinead Hegarty. Sinead wears many hats, but perhaps the two things she's most well known for today are her podcast, the Sinead Says Podcast, and her meditation hub, The Brave Way. In this episode, Sinead and I talk about the recent tragic events that took place in Bondi Junction, and it was really good to get a woman's perspective on everything that happened. We talk about how Sinead got into meditation and how she created her meditation hub and community, The Brave Way. And we also talk about Sinead's podcast, the Sinead Says Podcast, which has had over 3 million downloads. This was a really special episode for me because it was the first time I've had a guest on the podcast who's from Northern Ireland, which is where I'm from as well. So it was really good to have someone from back home on for a chat. Hope you enjoy this episode with Sinead. And as always, remember to give us a follow on Instagram at the Bondi Podcast to stay up to date with all of our guests and episodes. Like and subscribe to the YouTube channel, and you'll find all of our episodes on Spotify. Cheers. Sinead Hegarty, welcome to the podcast.
Hello, thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming around tonight. Look, Sinead, the first question that we usually ask our guests on the podcast is, what's your favourite thing about Bondi? Mm-hmm. But given that this is the first recording that we've done since the events that took place at Bondi Junction on Saturday, it only feels appropriate probably to start there. We're 5 days on from what happened at the junction on Saturday. Like, how are you feeling about the whole thing now?
You know, it's so funny, like that question that you would have asked, one of the things I would have said would be, it feels like the safest place in the world. And it's crazy because I always even tell my friends when they're coming to visit, you know, things like, oh, leave your stuff on the beach. Like, it's so safe. I would go, it's Australia. Like, I would actually like make a joke, like, it's Australia. Like, it's so safe. Everyone's like, and then all of a sudden this ordeal happened, and all of a sudden every woman is absolutely frightened, including myself. Obviously the place where it happened in Bondi Junction, I go there every day. Like, that's where I go to the gym. I usually do go there on a Saturday. So somehow I feel like
were you there on Saturday, Sinead?
I was in the junction, but I wasn't in West. But I usually go to the gym on a Saturday as well. And I had a party that day, but it's just mad because you keep thinking that could be you. And it's not even that, like, because I actually spoke about on my story that I feel absolutely frightened. And the other day I was like, my ready meals were outside and I couldn't even go outside and get them because I didn't want to go out because it was dark. And I've never felt like that before, like completely scared to do anything. Like, even when I was out and about today, like looking around my shoulder, because that feeling, someone says, what, Sinead, you know, like the you know, the odds of that happening again, but it's not even that. It's like the fact that it could just happen out of absolutely nowhere and just be targeted because essentially you're a woman as well. So yeah, I am feeling completely frightened. There's a lot of people in my DMs that are frightened, a lot of people that were there, and my DMs asking me for help because they can't sleep and stuff like that. So it is just a horrible time, and thoughts and prayers are with all the family and the people that were involved, and hopefully they probably won't even get any sort of peace at this minute. So sending prayers and everything to them. Point.
Are you doing anything within your own community over here, Sinead? I know you have lots of sort of female followers, and you said a lot of females slide into your DMs and stuff like that. Are you doing anything yourself?
I had someone today say that they were there, and I'm offering obviously meditation. They can have whatever they want, any type of meditation. They're open to any of my courses, anything. They've given me their emails, and so if you've been affected, you can send me a DM as well. And it's hard because I don't know what can help. I've never been in that situation, and I know that the Irish Embassy are giving out free counselling as well, and I know do you know anyone else that's giving out free counselling? There's a lot of embassies, and I think Bondi Junction, there is a lot of counselling people standing around in the junction as well for anyone to talk to. But there's definitely people giving free counselling everywhere, especially in the Irish embassies and stuff like that. So, yeah.
It's mad. I was speaking to some of my Australian friends, and like their initial thing that what they told me was, you know, this sort of thing doesn't happen over here.
Yeah.
Like, it happens you hear about things like that happening in the UK, and obviously Ireland has a bit of a checkered history in terms of like violence and things like that, and the US as well. But Aussies are pretty shook up at this one.
Yeah, completely. Like, I never thought that would happen, and it's hard because, you know, I felt really frightened, and I even said on my story, I was like, because obviously how the media talked about it was kind of it was a bit mad, wasn't it? They said like mental health, and I actually spoke about it on my story, like that fear of like schizophrenia. You know what? Can anybody do this that has schizophrenia? But in fact, like now it's making it more stigmatized. There's so many people that live with schizophrenia that don't go around on a killing spree. So I think that we can see the pattern of that it was a target for women, and obviously this person did have mental illness, but to not stigmatize the mental illness, because, well, do you think that? Because it's really hard to understand, because the media was like, oh, the mental health, but then, there's so many people living with schizophrenia that wouldn't do such a thing. So
something like that. Yeah, no, I completely agree.
Yeah.
Completely agree. Like, I think, apologies to start the podcast off on a relatively somber note, but I think it's important that we addressed, and I think it was really important to get like a woman's perspective on it, given the nature of the attacks were targeted at women.
Yeah.
Like, I hope we have a really enjoyable conversation, Sinead, this evening. Let's actually ask you officially the first question we ask all of our guests. Sinead Hegarty, what is your favourite thing about Bondi?
My favourite thing about Bondi, the sunrises and the morning connections. I feel like if people ask me what is the difference between, or like why you love it so much, I feel like at home in Ireland, like if you want to see your friends, you have to go to the pub. So you end up spending most of the time in the pub. So what I noticed when I came here is that I used to meet a lot of my friends, and I meet a lot of my friends in the morning. And I feel like I get my need for social connection met within the week. So I don't need to go to the bar at the weekend. So I've noticed that. And that is probably my favorite thing, to be honest, just those morning connections and hitting that need.
And it's such a good way to start the day as well. Like living back home, like you'd get up at the last possible minute that would get you to your desk for like 9 a.m. Yeah. Whereas over here, you're getting up early and you're filling up your cup before like 7 a.m. by meeting your friends, going on a walk, grabbing a coffee.
Yeah, and then there's more chance for positive reinforcement if you get up early as well. So even if you get up early and before you start your day, because if you go straight into your day at 9 a.m. and you're going into work, that's usually feeling a little bit negative if you are a person that sees work as hard work and stuff like that. But then if you get up in the morning and there's just more chance for positive reinforcement. Like the other day, like something so small, I was like, I for a walk with my friends and I go, oh, look at that crab. And they were like, Sinead, that's a huntsman. And I was like,
what, a crab for a huntsman?
That's what I thought it was. And they burst out laughing. And then like, the laughing creates all the dopamine and all that, like all those good hormones. Yeah. And there's just more options there's more chance for positive reinforcement. Like you send hello to the guy at the coffee shop, you just feeling good, like listen to your music, listen to podcasts, like, and then that just fills your cup, I guess.
Yeah. Love it. That's a really good one, actually. We've not quite had that take on it, which is great. Sinead, we first met at Stephen Bartlett a few weeks ago.
Oh yeah, oh, sorry. We had an awkward encounter.
I'd messaged you just before the event to see if you wanted to come on the podcast. I saw you in the queue. I was like, oh, I'll go and introduce myself to Sinead. You mistook me for someone called Chris who worked for My Protein.
No, can I just say that I feel like this is your own fault, because the Bondi podcast is a blue picture.
Right?
Right. So, like, how am I meant to remember that? Because we've just had that conversation today. I see your videos and stuff, right? But I didn't see them that day.
And you're like, My Protein are going into the podcast game now.
I just seen the Blue Bondi podcast and was like, oh, this sounds like a good idea. And like, obviously I've watched your stuff. But then you came walking towards me. You actually really do look like my manager from My Protein. You really do. So
was it the skin fade that I had at the time, or?
Yeah.
Is he from Northern Ireland?
No, he's from Manchester.
All right, okay.
But I will show you a photo of him, because I feel like that was an easy mistake to make.
Fair enough.
And also, I didn't expect to see you there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, fair enough. So
sorry about that, guys.
No. That's absolutely fine. No, I was definitely going to call you out on that. That was a really good event, hey?
He is so good, isn't he?
Oh.
He was reading off a teleprompter though, which I was like, yeah, the whole time. But that's still amazing, because he came across so natural.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and he did did his own things, because obviously I was watching him because I have a show, and I was like, right. He started talking, an hour later I was like, okay, I'm not ready for my show. Like, whoa, this is crazy. Looked up and I was like, oh no, there's a teleprompt. Okay, that's fine.
So you must have been in the fancy seats. Me and Danny were in the cheap seats at the back. We couldn't see any teleprompter.
I was like I got them a pre-order and everything. Like I was
keen
in
as
there.
mustard.
Yeah.
What like he talked for a long time. He went for 3 hours. What stood out to you, Sinead, or what were the sort of key takeaways from the event for you?
I really loved the bit he said about like you can have a skill, but like you need to have like a tiny bit better skill in your industry. I can't remember the actual name. Right, okay, let's forget about that one. The other bit was the small changes in your business, like those 1% changes that can up-level your business and your life. And I feel like that was really, really, it made so much sense. He was even saying like he changes the air freshener to open people up at the podcast. Did you do that today?
Yeah, and I washed the bloody sofa
you did
today.
Wash
like we got
the sofa because it is
we got the sofa
wet.
steam cleaned. Yeah, you're gonna have a wet ass after this, Sinead. Sorry about that. No, that was probably the one that stood out to me as well. Those little 1%ers. So me getting the little Belfast photo here to try and make you feel at home. As I said, washing the sofa, but that's actually kind of backfired on me, unfortunately. But no, so like for someone who's started a podcast, for someone with like a more established podcast, you must have been like the light bulbs must have just been going off in your head about that.
Yeah, 100%. Like at the start, there was a few bits I was like, okay, right, he's saying things that people know, but then when he got into it, and like there is reasons why some people are more successful than others, and I guess those 1% are really, really important, and also having those different skills from someone else, because I'm sure like there's like a million podcasts, isn't there? But then something has to stand out, and then there's like a million meditation teachers, but something has to stand out. There has to be like a little tiny skill that you're better at in order for you to be a little bit more successful or something.
No, completely agree. And is there anything you've implemented over the last couple of weeks, Sinead, off the back of that?
Yes.
Or you're not going to share your secrets? Or is there anything you can sort of say?
No, honestly, because obviously I brought my people that work for me as well. So like they obviously have all their ideas as well. So it's quite good because they're like, okay, how can we get the 1%? And then also a lot of sales stuff, because he did say that like, and I'm sure you can agree with us, it's really hard to get people to come on podcasts and for you to be seen. But then he actually said that you need to have appropriate emails, and you're also sending out like 400 and 500 emails a day. I mean, is he doing that? I don't know. 400 and 500. He also said he did 30 hours of recruitment a week. And I was like, 30 hours of recruitment a week? No, come on now. Yeah, your girlfriend's probably raging at you if you're doing that, and then you're doing this, and then you're doing the podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, no, I definitely think like keep reaching out, and like it's a numbers game, and your relationship with rejection as well. So we've done a lot of that since, like sending loads of different emails and just bashing them out. In
terms of trying to get guests on your podcast?
Yeah, getting guests and stuff like that. Yeah.
I
feel like that's a hard thing to do. Getting guests is hard.
I slid into Mark Wright's DMs a few weeks ago. I know he was in Bondi, just on the complete off chance we could get him in, but he never got back to me, unfortunately. But like,
oh my god, that was so cool, Michelle Keegan and all.
Dealing with rejection. No, we got Big John on that, so that's kind of all right.
See, if you would have got me before, I actually know his management because I used to manage me, so that I could have got that for you. Yeah, I don't know if he's still with them, but years ago we were in the same management. But
opportunity missed.
Yeah,
maybe next time we see.
So you never know. Like somebody might know somebody who might know somebody.
Exactly, and that's one of your buckets, your network.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Listen, I am really excited about this episode, given that you're my first guest from Northern Ireland.
Am I your first guest?
No, first guest from Northern Ireland.
I was like, no, I'm sure I've seen other people.
No. First guest from Northern Ireland.
Oh,
yeah. Where did you grow up in Northern Ireland?
So I grew up in Castlederg.
Right.
So it's kind of on the border.
How was that?
So you can use euro and you can use sterling.
All right, okay, yes. One of those places, yeah.
So you can go across the border, get your petrol.
Is it cheaper?
And then you can come back. That's the vibe.
That's like the main advantage of living in Castlederg.
Yes, it is. And all the bars, there's 17 bars and like 2 shops.
17 bars?
Yeah.
What's the best one?
Charlie's Bar.
Aye?
Yeah, 100%. Number one.
Do you miss home, Sinead?
Yeah, I think everyone misses home. I especially think I miss home now that I'm here. Because the last time I was here like 6 months, like always going home. But now I've actually been here for like almost a year. And I didn't think I would be homesick, but I am definitely homesick now, I have to say. Especially when I have a niece now. And like when they start growing up and I'm like, no, I left and you were a baby, now you're a toddler. It's like, it's so sad.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I've got a little nephew and he's 1, but he's growing pretty quickly at the minute. I know.
And they're so cute and they say your name and all. And then you're like... She said my name the other day and I was like crying my eyes out down the beach. I was like, no, what the hell? What am I going to do here?
Except for your niece, what else do you miss about back home?
Obviously my family. I feel like my family is like the biggest thing I miss, and then the house prices. Yeah, that would be
house prices.
Like in my time, not in Dublin, because like Sydney, that's not the vibe. But yeah, I miss. Yeah, I think that's it. What do you miss?
Food.
But Chinese. But have you tried Patty Chan's? Yeah.
No, it's not even properly opened yet.
No,
though,
it's
is it?
not open. I
It's
got
like,
a secret.
I
got a taster.
I saw that. There's a few group chats saying,
English people don't understand though.
Nah.
They don't understand. Like my boyfriend got it today and he was like, and like, you don't understand what it's like to get a Chinese in Ireland. It has to be greasy. It has to be chili chicken. Has to be like curry sauce, like layered all over the top of it.
And was it on point?
For me, it was on point.
Shit. Yeah, there's one.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I've got a little contact I can get in.
Oh yeah,
yeah, because they're doing like a soft. Oh, I probably shouldn't say this on the thing.
They're letting friends.
Yeah, they're doing like a soft opening this weekend, cash only. Edit all this out, Danny. yeah, I can't wait. We were saying it's good.
Yeah, oh my god, it's so good.
And
like, there's nothing like it. Like obviously here, is there not? They don't have any good food. Like. But to be fair, obviously the food is amazing here, but it's not like disgusting and greasy. Yeah,
if you wanted like a good fish and chips, or you wanted like, I miss my granda's fry up. Oh my god!
So it's a bowl of grease, isn't it?
So good.
Like you just get, what is it, a pan full of grease, and you just throw the bacon in and just let it go.
Oh, aye. It's everything in the same pan, like just.
I know, but we can make that. We just need to. It's just healthy here, isn't it?
Yeah, I know.
Damn it!
All these bloody whole food diets.
I mean, you have to be healthy if you walked around the eastern suburbs.
Fuck, I know. It's like a fashion show, isn't it?
I know. Yeah. Everyone's so sexy. It's ridiculous.
I know. Jesus. Yeah, you need this. If you're I suppose it might be the same for girls as well. Guys, you need to wear the sunnies when you go out.
Why?
Just in case you catch a wee bit of a wandering eye. Like.
I mean, there's so much choice. It's just like everywhere. Anyway.
But then I don't know. I've kind of like, first 2 weeks I moved here, I was kind of looking up like going, holy shit. But now you kind of just like, I don't know, you kind of desensitize.
I mean, you went through them on Hinge.
I've not been on a dating app in about 3 years, Sinead.
So are you single or are you in a relationship?
I'm single.
Okay, so you're single and you're not on dating apps. Yeah. Okay, so that's what I said to my friends. I was like, all the good guys are not on the apps. All the same guys that are circulating and who are avoidant attachment styles are in the apps.
Oh yeah. When I was in my avoided attachment era, I was definitely on the apps. Yeah, I've done a little bit of work on myself since.
Yes.
I don't need the apps anymore. So then how do you date? Honestly, like I'm happy just to approach someone like in a coffee shop or gym or yoga studio and say, hey, how you doing? Like, do you want to grab a coffee sometime? But
you don't want to like check their Instagram out and guess their...
I'll have a wee look at their Instagram if I can.
Yeah, okay.
The last...
But not many men have that confidence. Like, that doesn't happen very often that someone comes up to you and asks you on a date. Well, I suppose that happens for you.
I don't know. Yeah. I'm just... The apps just don't do anything for me. I've not been on them in a very long time. And
Why?
Too much of a distraction, to be perfectly honest with you. Like, and then
you're
having the same conversation over and over and over again with about maybe you've matched with 5 people, for example. I'm just having the same conversation and it just gets a bit boring, and for whatever reason you never end up meeting them anyway. You never end up meeting up, so you're just like, what the fuck's the point? So I just was like, I've not been on them in years.
Oh God, that's good. See, that's what I mean. Because people are like, oh, there's no one out there because there's no one on the apps. I'm like, no, the good guys are not on the apps.
Did you meet your current partner on the apps?
My current partner actually asked me on a date on the street.
Right?
Yeah.
What happened there?
I actually met him briefly at a work party, like really, really briefly, but he was dressed as a reindeer, with like a thong reindeer. Like he came out, I don't know, he's a wee bit crazy like that. But anyway, so obviously I was just like, I don't know who this was, like, just met him briefly at a work party. And then I ran into him on the street after, and he actually stopped me and was like, when are you going to let me take you on a date? And I was like, actually, Diane, I was like, you don't get approach people in Ireland. Like, it's not a thing. And I was like, no, how am I going to get this guy to go away? Like, he was like, no, I'm not leaving here until we've got a date and all. And I was like, like, don't know. And he goes, get out your calendar. And I was like, okay. And then he was like, you're free on Sunday. Let's go on a date on Sunday. And
was that over here? Was that in Australia?
Yeah.
Right, and did you go on a date on Sunday?
Yeah.
Right, and the rest
I think we met before the date, to be honest.
Right.
Yeah. It was 5 years ago, so, because I was with him years ago.
Were you?
Yeah, when I was traveling. So I briefly dated him prior 5, maybe 6 years ago, and I was leaving. So we dated for like 8 weeks, And then I left and I haven't been back.
Right, so you rekindled after...
Yeah, I rekindled.
Wow,
Yeah.
How good.
So, yeah.
And how long's it been now?
It's been a year, and our anniversary's in May. So 1st of May.
Good on you.
So 1 year, yeah.
Good on you. Amazing.
I know.
How
amazing.
Good. How good. Look, Sinead, I think you've I did my research, and I think you've done a lot. I think what you're most well known for today is the podcast, the Sinead Says Podcast, and the Brave Way.
Yeah.
What did life look like before these two things came along?
So the podcast happened in lockdown. So before the podcast, I mean, when I started a podcast, it was just for fun, like, you know, it wasn't this whole ordeal or anything. I didn't even have a microphone. I just started on my laptop and had a conversation about liking girls' photos of this other guy.
Did you have a bit of a following at the time, though, Sinead?
Yeah, I had a following then.
How did that come about?
How did the following come about?
Yeah.
Okay, so the following came about when I was 2018, 2019. I had been cheated on and broken up with, he had cheated on me. We were meant to travel together. And then like literally 2 weeks before we were getting the flight, I got a text from this girl saying that he had cheated on me like 6 months prior. And I was like, well, what am I going to do? Like, we're meant to be traveling the world and we had everything booked. We were traveling Asia and then we were coming here. And I was like, yeah, you're not coming. So, and then I just got on a flight and I met a friend there for like a week, and then I was on my own. So I was traveling alone. And I think like back then, no one really did solo traveling. So it was quite interesting for obviously people to watch, but obviously I was very heartbroken at the same time and had no one to talk to. So I was just talking to my story. So it was quite like being very vulnerable and being on my own and also solo traveling. And then obviously being very heartbroken. And then when I got to Australia, it kind of hit me. And I was like, oh my God, no. Then I was really low. And then I really bad anxiety. And then everything was hitting me. And then obviously I was like, I need to get out of this. So then I started doing self-development, doing courses, learning about human behavior, learning about meditation, studying. And then like obviously just like blossomed throughout the breakup, and they kind of watched that. I also had a thing called the Cunt Diaries, which is kind of like, it kind of started something funny, but...
What's that?
Well, I just hated men and went on a strike because I was like, well...
In 2018?
Yeah, I went on a strike for like a year. I was like, no, I hate them all. They're all cunts.
All right, cunts.
So,
right,
yeah,
okay.
And I called it the Cunt Diaries because couldn't say that other word.
What other word?
No, I can't say it. So I called it that, and then people kind of related to this. I was like, no one deserves me. No one deserves my heart. And I just locked it for like a year.
So you've got a bunch of women-hating men that are following you?
Yeah, pretty much. Yes. But then they were so happy then when I was happy.
Okay. So they came on this journey with you.
They came on the journey with me.
Right, okay.
So, and then, and I just think I grew a following from that, like a bit of like reality, comedy, being on the farm. People loved that as well. Like,
or doing your farm work?
Yeah, because I think it was around the time every influencer or anybody that was in my line of work was like, I wasn't working, like I wasn't getting paid at this time. So was just doing things like, you know, like bikini photos and blah, blah. And like, you know, I had my fair share of bikini photos, but also like, you know, being on the farm and, you know, digging, weeding and shit, like, you know, and just getting on with it.
Where did you do your farm work?
Atherton.
Where's that?
It's inland Cairns.
Okay.
Yeah, crazy.
And what were you doing?
I was picking sweet potatoes and like putting them in boxes.
Okay. And do you have like a phobia of sweet potatoes now?
No, I loved it. I used to like take all the ones that were shaped really funny home with me. I'd be like, oh, look at this one, looks like a mermaid.
I didn't think you were going to say mermaid there.
No. No.
I guess lonely on the farm, right?
Yeah, but the mermaid effect, also that's a good one in the farm. Have you ever heard about that terminology?
Oh, is that like if you all just sort of spend loads of time with each other, the guys and the girls that you spend all this time with start to get better and better looking?
Yeah, it's it comes from like whenever you're out at sea, men used to go out to sea for months and months and months, and then they used to imagine that the fish were like mermaids and they were like hallucinating. So like when you're in a place and so small, and then you're like, oh, maybe you are good looking. And then like everyone's all getting with each other, then they come back to Sydney and they're like, whoa, what's happening here?
It happens in the workplace a lot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we just... You know, you must have had a few admirers on the farm then, Sinead.
No, I was on my man strike.
Oh, right.
I was still on my man strike.
Right, okay. So everyone else is getting mermaided up and you're just like,
yeah. And then I came back and then I met Sam.
Perfect.
But now, and then we broke up for 3 years and then we're back. So yay.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Any other stories from the farm?
None that I can think of. I looked after a little man called Bones. He was also
A little man called Bones?
Yeah, you should watch my highlight called Bones. It's so cute. I met this little man. I used to work behind the bar as well. And he was in there every day, but he was just like so funny. And then he got really sick and then he was in hospital and he used to ring me from the hospital and be like, I'm so sorry, I'm not going to be in. I just had a heart attack. And I was like, oh my God, what the hell? So then I end up going to the hospital every day.
How old was Bones?
I think he's like, it was his birthday the other day. So he was like, it's 70 something.
You still in touch with him?
Yeah, he sends me photos and pictures and calls me all the time.
How good?
Yeah.
Amazing.
So cute. So that's my only story from them. That's
there
my only.
Shout out to Bones.
But yeah, anyway, I don't know why we got into that. I don't know how we got into that. But yeah, so before, sorry,
You stick
before,
to Irish people in a conversation
that,
like they're just gonna go.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Before that, it was just vulnerability, just a bit of crack, more self-development, motivation, books. Love talking about books. Big reader. Saved my life. Meditation saved my life. So then obviously that's where the Brave Way was born, and that's when the Sinead Says was born.
So let's talk about how you got into the meditation. I did read somewhere that it was anxiety, sleep trouble, and negative self-talk that was consuming your life, and that's why you sort of turned to meditation in the first place. You've touched on it there a little bit. Was it mainly that heartbreak that was causing all of that, or was there anything else going on in your life, Sinead, at the time that was sort of contributing to a lot of those negative feelings and thoughts?
I feel like if anything could have happened to me at that point, because I wasn't equipped or I had no resilience. So like, it wasn't just because I've had many heartbreaks after, but it was just that first big initial heartbreak. And I'm sure some people can relate that they have a big crisis in the middle of their life whenever they don't have any tools. So it could be they lost their job or they had a breakup or something happened. But mine was obviously a breakup at that time. And then when you're so happy, when you don't know how to love yourself and you don't know how to make yourself happy, like you just depend on another person loving you to have your worth. So I think when that was like ripped from me, I was like, oh, I'm worthless, I'm not good enough, and like riddled with negative thoughts. And then when you have negative thoughts, then you can't sleep. And then when you can't sleep, your whole life comes crumbling down. And then it's just like this whole circle of this for like a year, I guess. I went through that or more, I can't remember. And then like that was just a cycle of like no sleeping, like insomnia, like thinking, should I go on a medication? This whole cycle of blah, blah. But anyway.
Did you have that conversation with a doctor at all? Did you go in?
That's the thing. I never did, but I always thought that I should have. But now I think about it, I'm kind of glad that I didn't. And I'm kind of glad I got all the tools myself. So like I studied a few mental health courses. I did like human behavior, and then meditation, like books were first, definitely. They were my savior. Reading simple, even things like that you don't learn in school, like understanding your thoughts, like having a mental diet, understanding what is being said, like understanding your belief systems, understanding your own values, like all that stuff kind of came first. And then the meditation came when I still couldn't sleep. So I was still suffering with like a lot of just like feeling wired all the time, and then going to bed wired, waking up wired, and then just constantly, just my nervous system was completely out of whack. So it took me a while to understand what to do. But then when I found meditation, and meditation's not easy to begin with, you're like, fuck this shit, like I want to scratch my eyeballs out, like get me out of here. I'm sure any of you have tried yoga and tried to go into Shavasana for your first time. It's not the vibe. But like anything, if you want to have a good strong mind, just like if you see someone's body and you think it's a good strong body, it took like a long time to build. So your mind being cleaned up and being nice and fresh does take time. So yeah, after a while doing the meditations regularly, which took time as well to get into that daily practice, yeah, I slept through the night, and I feel like I slept through the night ever since, getting that daily practice. So 8 hours a night then turns into a whole array of amazing benefits. And then obviously when you're meditating, you become so aware of your own thoughts. And then that brings, light into who you actually are and your personality. And when you know yourself and you've found yourself and you know exactly who you are, you have a massive amount of resilience in life. So I feel like meditation just brought and every single day it still brings me something new. So yeah, it's definitely a lifesaver. And like, the research on meditation is completely outstanding at the minute. Like neuroscience has dived right into it in the last few years. And it is crazy to me that like it's not something that's ingrained in us and from early age, because it's just such a lifesaver, and we can all we can literally stay young with it. Our brains can be so much younger.
100%.
Yeah.
So I practice Vedic meditation, Sinead. So
yes. Okay.
I've been doing that
I've been doing that
for about a year now.
Yes.
So it's been in my 20 minutes twice a day for a year now.
So what does that one entail? Because there's a few different types.
So it's a form of transcendental meditation.
Yeah, so it's a mantra.
Yeah, so I get given a mantra by my teacher, and you repeat that effortlessly in your mind's eye for 20 minutes twice a day.
Yeah, I do
Simple.
that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've been doing it for about a year, and I actually don't think I'd be doing this podcast if I hadn't started that
100%
meditation about a year ago. How did you, like, why meditation, Sinead? How did you, like, come across it? Like, did you stumble across it? Did someone say, hey, why not try meditate, give meditation a go?
No, see, when I started meditating, there wasn't a thing. No one really meditated, but obviously I was a massive reader, and I read every autobiography of every successful person you could ever meet, and like every single person was
a common theme through them all.
It was a common theme. And I was reading, like, even Tribe of Mentors, if you've read that, it's a huge book about mentors. And they, like, every single person who's successful had something to say about meditation. And these big CEOs who have these massive businesses were having time to meditate for an hour a day. And I'm like, how can I not meditate for 20 minutes? Like, so I think that's when I just first give it a go.
You're like, all right, universe, I'm seeing all the signs here. Like, you're pointing them all to meditation.
Let's see what this is about. And like, obviously did a few meditations. A few of them were like really transformative. But then the first few meditations that you do, you just want to scratch your eyeballs out, because if you have a monkey mind, which our generation all have, when they first begin, they have this monkey mind, and then they think, oh, I can't meditate. They go on YouTube, they try to meditate. They're like, oh, well, I can't do that. And I'm like, do you understand that the monkey mind that you are observing in that first meditation is running your mind all day long, and that meditation is just bringing awareness to your mind running you?
And you don't like it.
Yeah. And people are like, oh, but I don't want to be, I don't want to understand that. But it takes a while to clean out your thoughts, and it takes a while to be in control, because you're not there to clear your mind. People always think that. And like, I'm sure you're as well, because especially with transcendental, you're very aware of how many times you drift off. You're supposed to have random thoughts pop into your head. Like, your mind thinks, like, your heart beats, it's involuntary. But like, how long are you wandering for, basically, can become shorter and shorter and shorter. But these thoughts pop up, but you're like, yes, no, this serves me, this doesn't. You want to pick your thoughts like you pick your clothes in the morning. It's like from Eat, Pray, Love that quote. Do you want to choose what serves you? You don't want the, I'm not good enough, I should be here at this point of my life. This person says I should do this. And when you start weeding out those thoughts as well, you realize that they're not your thoughts. They're your conditioned patterns from everyone else in your entire life. So when people say, like, what do you mean you find yourself? I'm like, no, you start weeding out other people's perceptions and thoughts and the conditioned pattern that you are ingrained in you. And then you start to have the tiny bit of space. So like, when you start meditating, obviously it's like thought, right? And then like, when you begin to understand how to do it with like appropriate, like, you need a teacher. You need to you can't just go and try. You need to understand what it means. And then it turns out to be like thought. And then it's like thought. And then you come back quicker and quicker and quicker, and you gain more focus, and your mind becomes stronger, and you become more of the observer. But within that space, like those little bits of space, you find yourself. You find little moments of joy. You find out what you actually like, and you move away from what everyone else expects of you. And then that's when you find yourself. And you don't find yourself in those moments in the meditation. But like, I'm sure you walked in the street and you're like, oh, idea. That sounds like something I would like. Oh, joy. And you start to like be observant and being introspective of who you are. And you don't even recognize yourself 6 months later. So, which is a good thing. Yeah.
As I said, it's been about a year for me now. And like, what I found is like, just generally gravitating more toward people and things and behaviors that are sort of serving me, and like sort of drifting away from and just a bit repulsed by people and places and things that don't really serve me anymore. Like I was saying before we started recording tonight, like I'm 6 months off the booze, and not even I didn't have a problem or anything beforehand, but I'm just like, I don't even miss it at the minute.
But you know what that sounds like? It sounds like you're not trying to please anybody anymore.
Nah.
Because you know who you are.
Yeah, correct.
And do you think, like, when you began your journey, what began your journey, I guess, to meditate?
It was a pretty bad breakup at the end of
the
2022. Yeah, it was a pretty bad
They're a
breakup.
blessing in disguise,
Yeah,
though.
no, definitely. Bad breakup at the end of 2022. Started meditating April, May
Yeah.
last year, and it's really sort of helped.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And then like when you first start, it's like not the vibe, isn't it? Not.
Oh, I noticed a big difference at the start. Like
Yeah,
those...
some people can get a real nice bliss field at the beginning and they're like then addicted to it because it's like obviously there's different stages that you can hit. But if you're a new meditator and you don't know what to expect, sometimes you're hit with like this like a really good feeling.
I have so that was me at the start, and then it sort of plateaued. So I can actually go on and do my advanced practice pretty soon. When it's a bang on a year, I can go and get like my advanced mantra, and like it's like a level up apparently.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know. So I'll keep you posted.
Yeah.
Which is going to be good. Hey guys, quick favor from me. It would really be helpful for the podcast if you could just take a second to make sure that you're following the podcast on Spotify and that you click the subscribe button on YouTube. This will help the podcast grow and ensure that we can keep bringing quality guests to you guys. Thanks. So when you started meditating, Sinead, did you go straight into like the transcendental meditation, or were you doing like guided stuff first?
I was always doing guided and mindfulness. I actually went to classes in like my hometown, which is so random.
In Castledarg?
Yeah, in Strabane.
In Strabane, there's a meditation centre.
Yeah, but it's not there anymore. So I'm like, like that was there for me. Like it's so random. Like they're like my wee guardian angels in some way, shape or form. Like I was meditating, but just meditating sort of here and there. And then they had classes. And this is why I do my classes in Bondi as well, because, you know, there was always something there. I didn't want to go to those classes, but I knew it was good for my mind. So I'd book myself in and like I would drag myself there. But then like obviously at the very end, I was like, oh, okay, I feel better. And then, okay, book myself in next week so I don't have to and pay for it straight away, you know. So that kind of kept me going. So that's why I do my classes in Bondi as well. It's like something that's always there that someone can just use. Whether there's one person in my class or it's a full class, like I'm just like, it's nice to have something there because there's not that many meditation classes right now here. Well, there probably is, but can't seem to find them. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I started loads and loads of guided, loads of finding yourselves, went and did loads of courses, studied in Bali, studied in Thailand, did online courses, did a lot of stuff in COVID, but then did like a big crazy 300-hour there like 2 years ago in Bali, but it was like meditation jail.
Right, okay.
But it was like at the time it felt like meditation jail, but when I'm now I'm like, oh, that was so peaceful.
So you've done all your teacher training, got all your certs?
Yeah, but I would do, like I still do loads all the time because you learn different types from different people. Like Vedic, I've done Transcendental, I've done Ziva, I've done the Vedic as well, like that was totally different because yours is more like transcendental, but I went into this like I also did tantric. That does sound sexual, but it's not actually, and they get really annoying to say that. But yeah, so I've done stuff like that, but it's mad because when I was in some of these courses, I'm like, guys, we need to modernize this. We need to make this beautiful for other people. Like people don't want to do this. They need better. So like, that's when I started doing, so I did hypnotherapy, NLP, and then mixing them all together. So that's where I got my brave way out of, because it's a mixture between like life coaching, things that are going to change your life. Because when you have someone in their subconscious, like when they're very calm, and then you ask them a question about the clarity, about something to make them clarity, it just comes to their mind. So I kind of mix those things. So that's when like the first course came about, like finding yourself. So it was like a mixture of like, you know, NLP, like hypnotherapy, all these different type of meditations, but also to find who you are. So it's like tricking them, and every day is a brand new meditation, and it's so different, and you can take you to such magical places. You've
really like thrown yourself into all this learning and building up all these accreditations. You know, what was the driver for doing all of that learning and building all those accreditations up?
But you know what, like it's mad because all the training that I did is, if you look at the meditations that I write, they're probably nothing like it.
No,
because it comes like, I feel like my meditations come from, you get them relaxed through the training, but then you get the answers from the books. So like, for example, like I have a meditation like removing fear. I've read a whole book on fear to get that meditation written, and it's 12 minutes, you know? So it's like passion as well. So I want people to find it interesting and find themselves. I don't want people to go into a meditation class and be like, oh, that was boring and that was hard. I want them to be like, oh, that was so interesting, like what I found out about myself. So then it like hooks them. Like, I want people to come in, hook them so that and then they're tricked into it and then they're happy. You know what I mean? Because they're just like, oh, look at this wonderful visualization of my dream life and my dream house. And like, I take them through like a lot of visualizations, like, especially people in our generation, like they need to be guided completely. Like they need to smell the grass. They need to actually decide what color the grass is. They need to understand what color shoe they're wearing. They need to feel into those moments so that it's exciting for them. Because like trying to sit people down and do transcendental, like I do transcendental most days as well, but I also do a lot of guided. But like
it's not the easiest one to start with, right?
Yeah, because people are like, oh, they can't really see the benefits straight away. So mine is more like a transformation. But like, I mean, I guess the passion for meditation would be the fact that it is completely life-changing and people do not understand how to start it. And the research is absolutely outstanding for how it can transform your brain. It literally changes like the neural pathways in your brain, and it literally changes your neurons. It gives you neuroplasticity every single day. It can make you younger. That people like, they like that one. They like to know that they can be younger. That's how I trick them. I'm like, do you know it produces this? It produces happy hormones. It produces loving hormones that are healing. And that really drives me. I'm like, why is not everyone doing this? And even when you look at people's research, like I was reading a book, James Nestor's book about breath. Have you read that?
Oh, yeah.
It's a good book. But he said in it, blah, 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 there was this much research on mindfulness meditation, and this is very, very good for anxiety and depression. But they didn't know how, they couldn't implement it into schools. So here's the work on breath. And I'm like shouting at the book. I'm like, what do you mean? We can just make it good. We can make it exciting, make it pretty, make it modernized. Like we need to just move away from like breathing into our nose, out your nose. There's so many ways to meditate. And I just feel like that's what I'm on this earth to do, to make it pretty.
Perfect.
Make it modernized.
That probably leads us, and you've touched on it a little bit, Sinead, but that probably leads us quite nicely into the brave way. Like in your own words, what's the brave way?
Okay, right. There's a few different options. So obviously you have like the original course is a 21-day Finding Yourself course, which is like you unlock a new meditation every single day. And it's just like, basically the whole thing is like visualization, manifestation, clarity, finding who you are, and like finding joy. So that and gratitude and falling into high vibrations. So that's 21 days. And then we have the Brave Way membership app, which is like a Brave Way hub. It's like meditation hub. So that
all
is my
guided.
Yeah. Well, we have live class and stuff like that where I would do transcendental and stuff like that. But it gets added all the time. So it is like my little baby at the minute. It's all brand new meditations. Like, no, I get so excited. And also the people that work with me are like, they're like, listen to this music, listen to the violin. And I'm like, no, it's like making a song. It's like making an album every time. I'm like, yes, it's so, but anyway, so there's all different sections in there that you can just go in there and check what you like. Like you can go in for self-love, you can go in for abundance, you can go in for gratitude, you can go in for anxiety, you can go in for clarity. There's all these different sections. So you can go in, there's a big library. You know what I mean? And then we also have a community of people, which is my favorite part, which everyone's always talking and chatting about everything. But yeah, it's all about transformational meditations that will like change your life and find out who you are.
And is it I assume there's like a lot of like guided stuff on there.
Yeah.
Is it you on the mic?
Me on the mic. I have a meditation voice. This is not it.
Gives me a shot in the meditation voice.
Well, no, I'm embarrassed now.
Right, hold on. I'll go into meditation mode here, and you can just sort of.
Oh, this is hard because I have to meditate before I give a meditation. But
give me an abundance.
Oh, abundance. Okay, absolutely no problem. Right, when you close your eyes. Okay, so abundance is all about finding blessings in what you already have. So what I'd like you to do is imagine you're waking up and starting your day. And when you wake up and start your day, you open your eyes and you're in a warm bed. You are already blessed because you are in a warm bed. You open your eyes and you look up and there's a roof over your head. You're already blessed because you have a roof over your head.
You do have a good meditation.
Well, that was actually me being really fast, but like, that's a nice abundance bit.
Sinead, one thing I picked up on, the word brave pops up everywhere. The Brave Way, you've got your Brave Tranquility rings as well. I actually get the sense that word probably means quite a lot to you. Why is that word important to you?
So the Brave Way started actually with brave retreats. So brave retreats, brave events, brave brunches, because it was all about, so my first business was it Brave Front? No, my first was Seal and Single. That was a funny one. Anyway, so Brave Retreats was people, when I was solo traveling, they'd be like, how are you doing this? I would love to do this. And I was like, it's not that hard over here. It's actually really nice over here. You should just come. And they were like, oh no, I couldn't. So I was like, oh, but what if I was maybe standing at the other side? Could you come over? And they would be like, 100%. So I was like, okay, so I'm going to start a retreat that solo travelers can come over. And it started off in Thailand. And people come over as solo. And then I take them on a retreat. And so I've been doing Brave Retreats. And then, to be honest, most people come to my things solo. So I also have Brave Brunches, which is in Sydney as well. And people come alone and I set them up on tables and give them loads of prompts. And same as my book club, I have Brave Book Club. People come alone and they and I give them prompts to have deep conversations. And it's all about being brave and just coming on your own. So
that's the brave bit.
Yes. And then the brave way was just like when I started the meditation course, obviously we toyed with so many things. And I actually even wish that the podcast was called Brave, but like it obviously started as the Sinead Says podcast. And we were actually going to call it Sinead Says Meditate. And then I was like, no, we can't do that.
Sinead Says is a good name.
Yeah, I'm like, because at the time it was just a whim. It was like, I'll just start chatting to this fucking laptop. I didn't think it was going to be so like big now. So yeah, like Brave is just all about doing something brave and mostly solo. Like doing it on your own, even though no one's come with you.
Does that stem from you after that breakup going traveling solo?
Yeah. And I did loads of things on my own. Like I travel solo all the time.
It's good, isn't it?
And like go to go to courses on my own, go to like lectures, concerts. I'd go anywhere on my own. So yeah, it's about like people wanting to do something, but their friends don't want to do it. So it's like, go.
Yeah.
And then the Brave way was just like, it just fitted right in because the Brave way is like to come and try and find yourself, the Brave way. So nice. It just kind of fitted.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. Let's talk about the podcast then. So the Sinead Says podcast started toward the end of 2021, nearly 100 episodes, 3 million downloads, Sinead, which is unbelievable. I think the tagline for the podcast is from heartbreak to thriving. How did the podcast come about? What's that heartbreak to thriving? You've touched on it probably a little bit there.
The whole podcast is kind of about self-development, really. And I'm really obsessed with relationships. I'm also a relationship coach as well. So I have always become really, because I have a book on relationships. That was for another thing. Sorry, I did a lot of things. I wrote a book. Yeah. So that was it. And that went really well. So yeah. And then I just, to be honest, it kind of stems from, like a person, like I'm anxiously avoidant, fearful. I've got all the attachment styles. I have all the things that I've done wrong in my past. And I'm like, oh my God, there's all these things that I can do to fix this. So then I get really excited. Then I've started a podcast on this. And then now my job is researching how to, first of all, human behavior, relationships, how to be better, and then just put it into a podcast. Like I get so excited about, that's why I read so many books. I'm like, oh, can't wait to tell them this, because I'm like, this one trigger thing that you say can like change someone's thing. Because I'm sure you've listened to podcasts, listened to books where they've said one thing and you're like, and then you're like,
the glass shatters, the glass shatter moment. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it just started like that. Like I'm so obsessed with like relationships, human behavior, self-development, just anything that can make sure that we're not in that place. Like, that heartbreak place. I know that heartbreak place. I don't want to be in that place again. So let's do what we can for people. And it comes from expert of experience, being down there. I don't want to be there anymore. Let's gather all the tools. So that's where it started. And it, I don't know, it just took off. And
when did you notice it sort of take off? Like how many episodes in? Or because you already had that following in the first place, Sinead, it like was doing pretty well? Yeah,
from the following. And podcasts are weird. Like you go in and out. Like one season will be better than the next. And like, it depends what you're doing or what you're talking about. There's so many podcasts right now. But like, I think like the main thing to do is just like, you're just talking to those people. Like I try not to be like, oh, I want it to grow and do things like this. I'm just like, how can I help the people that are right there? Do you know what I mean? I do that same with my Instagram. I don't have a growth tactic or I don't have any of these things. I just think like, how can I make that person's life better? So what can I share with them? And yeah, I think like from the moment, I think like to be fair, like if you start a podcast on lockdown, it was pretty good back then. Like there's nothing like those days because obviously that's all people were doing, going for walks, listening to podcasts. But it's so much better now because obviously there's so much better sound quality. We have a studio now. With more, like, I don't know. It's really random, the podcast. I don't even know how it happened.
Is there like an episode that stands out?
That like really
in your head, yeah. So like, do you have a favorite episode or an episode or a guest that stands out?
I mean, I actually remember like in the first season, I remember the first podcast that everyone was like, listen to this. It was like tag, and it was called Mastering Your Emotions. And basically like it was just about understanding your emotions. Like for example, like the emotion hurt, anger, all these things, and understanding where they come from, how it happens, how to deal with them when they come. And that's like simple things that we should know. But like when you learn it, you're like, as if I don't know what that anger means or hurt means or how to get rid of that or how to get rid of that feeling. I don't know. You know, things like guilt. People don't understand where that comes from and what they can do with that.
Childhood trauma.
Yeah, lots of childhood trauma. So yeah, I think that was kind of the one that was like people were tagging. Then, you know, spiritual ones like manifesting, anything to do with attachment styles. People
latch onto that, do they?
Yeah, because they need it. We don't have a clue.
Yeah, people just want to try and understand themselves a little bit better,
100%,
right?
That's all that people want to do. Because if you understand yourself, you're getting closure. Because like usually if you've went through a breakup, you're like, oh, my fault. But you're like, oh no, that's because of that. And that's because he's different. And that's because, So
that makes sense now. And you kind of make your peace with it.
Yeah,
exactly. You get your boyfriends on your podcast, Sinead?
Yes, I do get my boyfriends on my podcast.
What's the thinking there?
To be honest, I always talk about everyone in my life, my podcast as well. So it's so funny because everyone's like, where's that podcast where you talked about that? And I'm like, ooh, I feel like that could be a podcast with like my ex. But here you go. I love having everyone in my life, in my social media, in my... when I first started out with Sam, I hid him for a long time because I was like, I'm not doing the public thing again because the public breakup was rough. And then I was like, I just love it. I just love sharing it and sharing what we learn. I learn something new every week about my boyfriend. So you have to get on there. Like when you're in a new relationship and you're with each other a year, every week you learn something new, like their fighting tactic, you know, how to get through things. Because your first 2 years, 3 years relationship is mostly trying to navigate your both personalities. So I find it quite interesting to have them on.
Definitely.
Why? What do you think?
No. I'm just going to say, do those episodes do well? Sinead's got a boyfriend on.
Well, to be honest, one did really well because he told a poo story. And obviously all these friends were sending it to each other and it went off because he told a story about our second date where he did a poo in my toilet. and he did... It's so bad. But he did a poo in my toilet and I have one of those like those windows. Like, what do you call that? Like a hatch.
Yeah.
Anyway, he was like, it didn't flush. And he was like, I have to get this out. So, and obviously like, it's in my garden. I live in the, like, you know, where are you going to throw this? So he decides to get the poo and throw it out the window. But when he went to throw it out the window, it hit the window and it went onto his chest. It's so bad. And then he was like trying to get it off his chest and he tells the story in the podcast and obviously everyone started writing and be like, oh my God, the story. And I was like, no, I know. And then obviously they must have just been sending it to their friends. So like things like that go.
And did he come back into the living room with like poo all over his t-shirt?
No, so basically I even remember it was like our second date or like he was back at my house for like the first time. And he actually just was like put his head in the thing. He was like, I have to go. And I remember thinking like, oh my God, he doesn't like me. And he said that he met my mom at the bottom of the stairs.
And what did she say? Why have you got
he
shite
just
all
like,
over
see you later. No, but he like washed off. I don't know what he did. I can't remember what he did, but
because he would have smelled like shit.
Yeah, so we just ran.
Oh no.
And it's so funny. I didn't know about it until a year later when I was putting him on the podcast. And he was like, I have something to tell you in case you ask me about this night. And then I was like, what? It's so bad.
Poor bastard.
I don't know how we got there. Sorry.
There we go. Sinead, you touched on it a little bit there about the public breakup. I listened to the episode of your podcast that you did immediately after that.
Yeah.
That sounded like a pretty tough period in your life.
Yeah. A public breakup is... Do you know what's really
Why was it... Sorry, was it because you had a profile and he had a profile?
No, I just think like I'm quite public with my boyfriends and stuff like that. Like I definitely think I'm as public with Sam now, but with my past boyfriend, like we were very public. And then like, do you know what? Like, I think it was like the first boyfriend after the heartbreak that people seen, and like they really were written. And also like he's the boy next door. Like he literally lives next to me in my house. It was like a romance that everyone loved, and he was so sweet and so gentle, and he was such a nice guy, and he came across so shy and timid, and everyone just loved us together. And like that is so hard when a lot of people love you together, but you're not meant to be together. So you have to let them down and tell them that you break up. And I'm going through my own breakup, he's going through his own breakup, and then all these people are upset too, and you're like, oh my god, they still love him too. It's like,
do they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a good guy. He's a really good guy. He's just really young. Like he was just, obviously I was in a different stage of my life.
Yeah.
You know, he didn't really want to be a boyfriend, and I wanted a boyfriend, you know what I mean?
All
so,
right, okay.
you know,
Shit.
It's not really any.
I assume you probably got the full range of responses on social media from people being like heartbroken and really wanting to be really supportive to talking shit.
Yeah, I mean, obviously if people talk shit too, but
Aye.
I'm used to that, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
But was that all right to get through, or?
Yeah, I think Heartbreak now is a very different story compared to like the first time. Like I'm well equipped with tools to deal with things, and like I didn't make that decision lightly. Like it took a long time. Look, it took a while to decide that we were going to break up. And we're still friends. Like we still talk. All our friends are still friends, and we still spend time together because we have same friends. But yeah, like it is hard that like you let people down, that they're like, oh, like I really wanted that relationship to work, and I'm like, but like so did I. It's not my fault. Like what do you want to do? Yeah. And then also like, you know, people don't know what truly happened. They don't know the full story either. So you're just like, I don't know. Yeah, it was hard, but I think I was well equipped. Yeah. You know, and like he was okay, I was okay, and that was the main thing. That was okay. And Heartbreak to thriving now, so. Yes. That's great. Yeah.
Just circle back to the podcast then, Sinead. So you've been doing it for a while now. What would you say are the biggest learnings or takeaways that you've taken from doing the podcast and having all these amazing guests on your show?
Oh God, I don't know. That's such a hard question.
Consistency
is key. Consistency is key. You know, like you can say, oh, I have 3 million downloads, but like I have 100 episodes. Do you know what I mean? So they just add up. And I think, you know, one podcast might not do as good as the other one, but you just have to keep understanding that like still people are listening, and people just love people. Like I just love listening to podcasts and like hearing different people's perspectives. What would you say is your biggest lesson? Or like, what do you think your goal is?
My goal is to help people.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's all it is, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. So a lot of the guests that we have on the podcast, it's like talking about things like meditation, talking about breath work, talking about exercise, it's talking about things like that can potentially help people. So I was doing it tough at probably the start of last year. Mm-hmm. And then I discovered all these wonderful things like breath work and meditation, and there's other stuff as well. And I was like, well, that helped me. It can definitely help other people as well. Yeah. So getting people like yourself on to talk about meditation, you're coming at it from a very different angle. And we had Matt Ringrose on. He's the founder of the Bondi Meditation Center. So we had him on. He's my teacher. He's my teacher. We've had different breathwork people on as well. So yeah, just trying to help people at the end of the day.
And that's the thing. Intention will win over everything. And I just tell people when they even start businesses, I'm like, when you have good intention, it does not matter if it works out or not anyway. So you've got good intention, and watch how everything transforms whenever you have good intention. Like when I started the Brave Way, like it began with me doing meditations for charity and for homeless people. And like, and I would go to women's circles and in Dublin and just go and do these meditations for free for charity. And then they'd be like, can you record that for my sister? It's so good. Can you please record that? And I'd be like, okay. And I would just record it on my phone and just send it to them. And then people are like, Sinead, that is so good. You need to record that. Like you need to put that on something, or like blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay. Like, can you imagine like all these, like I did a year of like doing women's circles everywhere for free and like for charity. And like, then whenever I started my own business, then everyone bought this course, and I was like, oh my God, wow, like what the hell, this is crazy, like this is the business, this is mad. And like a lot of people bought it, and a lot of people still continue to use it every single day. People send me messages like, you know, like it gets me to sleep, like it has changed my life. It's just like, and that's what I mean, you just keep going. Like I was doing that for a year, doing meditations, like, and just writing them on my own and just coming in and people just loving them, and they were all crying and the feedback was good. And I was like, oh, I got to do something with this.
Yeah.
So
now you're doing it full time. How good.
Yeah. And it's amazing.
So Sinead, thank you so much for coming on tonight. I've really enjoyed this chat. Where can people in Sydney find you?
My Instagram is @Sinead Heg, which is spelled like Sinead. Sinead. And then the Brave Way is just @The Brave Way.
Amazing.
Yeah, and the Sinead Says Podcast.
On all podcast platforms?
All podcast platforms.
Amazing.
That's it.
Sinead, I've loved this chat. Thank you so much for coming in.
You've
been an amazing guest. You've actually... Yeah, I've laughed quite a lot on this. To be honest with you, it's so nice having someone from back home.
There's a lot going on.
I know. Thank you very much, Sinead.
Thank
Cheers.
you so
really
much.
Appreciate it.